Hello and welcome to the United Stand. Jose Mourinho is facing a Paul Pogba and Anthony Martial rebellion in two very, very different ways. We're going to be taking your calls tonight. I did the video at lunchtime. I've given you my thoughts on Paul Pogba. And all I would say about it is, look, what if Pogba's angling for a new contract? What if Pogba's thinking Mourinho's not going to be here that long? I'm going to win out on this. I just want a new contract. I want to bide my time. And I want the club to know that if they stick by Mourinho, I will go. What if? And what if Pogba's words have been taken out of context? It wouldn't be the first time. But for me personally, I just think Pogba is such a good player, as I said, that to let him go and gamble on getting somebody else and let him go and play well somewhere else, why don't we just do absolutely everything we can to get the best out of Paul Pogba in this situation? That's how I feel about it. But the Anthony Martial area, people may not be aware about this, but basically, Jose Mourinho tried to sell Anthony Martial in the summer, and the club, well, this is from all credible reports, the club were like, no, we're not selling a player like that who's 22 and he could be another Salah, De Bruyne, who goes off in the early 20s to somewhere else and is a world-class star. We're not selling Anthony Martial, we don't want him to. There was that rumour that Mourinho wanted to offer him up to Spurs and Chelsea and wanted Willian or Alderweireld in return. So we've got this situation with Anthony Martial where he is about to sign a new contract. This is from Fabrizio Romano, who's quite close to Di Marzio. They were very, very accurate around Liverpool transfers over the summer, and they've been accurate around other transfers. It's not the first time we've heard about Martial signing a new contract. And I think, look, you call it rebellion or whatever, but there is a rebellion element to it, because Mourinho would have happily sold Martial this summer, and here's Martial signing a new long-term contract. That is a weird situation. And it's a bit like, well, Martial's got what he wants, hopefully, that he wants to stay at Manchester United. But how does Jose Mourinho handle that? Do you agree with the club undermining the manager or disagreeing with the manager on that? And can Mourinho get the best out of Martial? Could we have another Luke Shaw on our hands? Or is that relationship always going to be a bad relationship? We know about Pogba. We know about the quotes that are out there, which are that, I'm a Manchester United player for now, but in a few months' time, let's see, January, could he be looking for that move? Want to get what your thoughts on that. There's also talk of Eric Bailly being unsettled at Manchester United and maybe looking at a move away in January because Mourinho wants another centre-back. Remember, Bailly's already been dropped this season already, and we're only 4 games in. And there was talk of some issues between Bailly and Mourinho towards the end of last season. Bailly, Martial, Rashford, Pogba. That was the 4 players that apparently have got a clique and have an issue with Mourinho. I'd be amazed if Rashford was involved in that. Youth player from the homegrown. But what are your thoughts about that? Maybe you want to talk about that. Also, United, wages-wise, apparently we're going to top £300 million a year that we pay in wages. Way and above any other club in the Premier League what we pay. Are we getting value for money? And Pep Guardiola is apparently going to ban the use of mobile phones at the training facility for Manchester City. Is that a step too far, or is it a sign of making your players be professional? We know United players, Bailly, Lingard, Pogba, they like a little dance, they like a little prance. Should United follow suit, or is it just a sign of the modern times? All for you tonight to call in and have your say. I've had my say about Pogba. Want to get your live comments as well. Internet Traffic Cop says Bailly is too reckless. Interesting thoughts there. Bailly's our best defender, says LW10. It's Skype Goldbridge, all one word, if you do want to call in. No, Bailly can't go, says Zane Scope. Jose out, says MUFC Madness. I mean, I've heard a few people saying that today. They're in the minority. Most people are saying get rid of Paul Pogba. I really want to see what people think about Paul Pogba now. I mean, I'm going to try and fight for him. Ladios is as well. Pogba is the best player in the world. I think that's a stretch too far. Pogba, Lukaku, Sanchez, De Gea, Martial and Jose need to leave, says Paper Blanket. Wow. You cannot be a Manchester United fan. Surely. Pogba, De Gea, look at all the United haters commenting. Go to your own channels, Klingons, says Guelsh Sisu. And I think Pogba will go to PSG, Mark, says Jerviston Boys. I think Pogba is only going to go to PSG. But we're taking our first call. Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, Mark. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. You? I'm
all right, Mark.
I'm going to ask you the question first because I think everyone wants to sort of get a few fans' opinions on this. What do you think about Paul Pogba after what he said today? How do we solve this issue with Pogba?
Okay, yeah. Well, that was also what I wanted to talk about. And if his quotes are anything to go by, I think we should let Pogba go, because I don't understand how Pogba can actually come out and sound as if being at Manchester United is the worst thing on earth. Because I think he has a good manager. If he just does his job, and performs with the same passion that he does for France, I think we'll see a different Pogba. But he's not doing that at the moment, and I really like him. But if he's not cutting the job, then we should just let him go.
I mean, he said the words himself that it is strictly a player-coach relationship, basically saying there's no
Yeah,
friendship or anything like that. I mean, that's not necessarily the end of the
yeah.
world, but you touched on something there. I mean, do you think that why are we not getting the best out of Paul Pogba? Do you think that's down to Mourinho, or do you think that's down to Pogba himself? You know, he is meant to be one of the best players in the world. We very rarely see that in
Yeah.
a United shirt. Why do you think that is?
Yeah. Um, I mean, we're only 4 games in right now, so I don't want to make a definite assessment of Pogba or Mourinho. But from what I've seen, last year after the City game, Pogba said he plays better in a three-man midfield, basically meaning he needs two defensive midfielders. And I thought, okay, next season let's get another midfielder into the team who's good, who's energetic, who's fast, because Matic is a bit slow. And we got Fred, and I wasn't impressed with Pogba, especially at the Brighton game. I thought he just looked not interested at all. And if we're going to challenge for anything this season, our best players need to start stepping up to the plate, or we just let them go, because it just doesn't help us if Pogba decides to perform, or if he decides, you know what, I'm going to have a day off today. My Instagram is doing good and all that jazz.
You mentioned if he's not happy, let him go. I mean, the indication is that he probably isn't happy, but I hope that we can keep him up. But I've said my bit about that, and it's all about your opinions tonight. If we were to let him go, this is something that I've heard different opinions from, and in the live comments, certainly give us some of your thoughts. What sort of fee would you let him go for? Is there a fee that we've got to achieve to let him go, or would you let him go for 90 million, which we paid?
I think if we let him go for 90 million, that would be one of the worst deals we've ever made. I can't think off the top of my head if there would be any deal that could come close to that. But if we were to let him go, of course we should let him go at a huge profit. If other clubs think, oh, okay, we can bring out the best in Pogba, and he thinks, you know what, I can't do this English football thing, then they have to just pay up. And if they don't pay up, then he doesn't go and he doesn't play. And we play players who are actually going to listen to the manager. Although Jose Mourinho has a lot of his mistakes, which we're not talking about right now, because I think he's also lost the plot to a certain extent. But the players cannot then use that as the excuse to not perform on the field. You go on the field and you do what your manager tells you. And from what I see, Pogba doesn't seem interested in anything at all.
Great. Well, I'm going to try and get as many calls as I can, but thanks for calling in, pal, and please do call in again.
Thanks a lot, Mark. Great show.
Cheers, pal. Thank you. And I agree with that last point as well. And I think a lot of people in the live comments are sort of saying that as well. I can see £150 million being mentioned quite a lot by Mohammed Hassan. 120 to 130 would be reasonable, says Dakrier. I agree with that. A lot of people saying 150 million. Sam Howes, MCSKM, Irfan as well. I think Coutinho went from Liverpool to Barcelona last January for around £150 million. We're a year further on. Yes, Pogba's not hit the heights in a Manchester United shirt, but I think this is where the World Cup win really would help us. So I would be looking at 150 million as well. George, can you hear me?
Yeah.
How you doing, pal? All right?
Yeah, good.
Good. What do you want to talk about? Actually, I'll ask you a question first, and then you can tell me what you want to talk about. Because we've just spoke about Pogba. You can talk about that. I just want to ask you about Martial. What do you think about this? Because it is part of the title, so we need to talk about him. Anthony Martial looks like he's going to sign a new long-term contract at Manchester United. Pretty much know that Mourinho would have sold him in the summer. The club have said no, you're not selling him. What do you think about that? Why is Martial signing the contract? Does he think he can outlast Mourinho, or do you think they can actually get on? And two, how does Mourinho fix that situation where he's got a player that he probably would have sold who's going to be here for a long time?
Well, I think it confirms that Mourinho's probably not going to be here and he isn't really in control anymore because Edward was put his foot down. Or you can look at it a different way and say he wants to give him a new contract to maybe get a bigger fee out of him, even though he couldn't get rid of him in the summer.
Yeah, you could see that. I mean, also, the third option as well, I mean, I don't know how likely anyone thinks this is, but what about if it's, The thing is, Michael Jones says here, Martial's got a problem, and that's Alexis Sanchez. And this is the thing that comes into my head. People say, well, if Martial gets his head down and does what Luke Shaw does, but there's not a spot for Martial in that team. I mean, Alexis Sanchez is going to be Mourinho's main man no matter what, isn't he? I would have thought.
I'd say yeah, but say if Mourinho, I reckon he could sign a new contract just under the suspicion or under the thingy that maybe the new manager plays Sanchez out on the right, or it's something I haven't given a lot of consideration to because I thought he was going in the summer. I really did.
Yeah, I did as well. So what was it you wanted to talk about, George? Anyway, we spoke about Martial briefly there.
Well, I was going to say Pogba. If you look at the facts, he's not happy at United. It looks like he's trying to angle his way out of the club, but that may not be as it seems. He may, like you said, trying to be going for a new contract. But what I was going to say was, I think he feels a bit weird that Ed Woodward has fought for Martial to stay at the club and said to Mourinho, "No, we're not selling him." Or the higher ups at the club have said it, and he's sort of thinking, "Well, why haven't they done that for me?"
I'd slightly this. Well, we don't know. I think the great point that you've made there is that I see a lot on social media about Pogba, and the worst thing I've said today about Pogba is that if he leaves Manchester United for the second time, all right, he's going to go to Barcelona and play somewhere he really wants to play again, but he's going to be known as the French Xhaka because he's not done anything in a United shirt. And that, for me, is the difference between a top player and somebody who thinks they're a top player. Pogba shouldn't want to leave United twice with both times, a big red mark against him saying he didn't achieve it. So I just wonder whether Pogba really does want to leave United, and maybe this is more about an unhappiness with Jose Mourinho. But also, I think you might have hit onto another theory there, is that, the club are bending over backwards to keep Anthony Martial. We know Sanchez is probably on about 100 grand, maybe even more a week than Pogba. And maybe this is about Pogba trying to get a contract, or even worse, he's just very fed up with the club and he's like, well, you're not treating me well, I'm off.
Well, I'm not going to be one of those people who, when Mino Raiola came out and said it's what the stuff about Scholes, I wanted him to leave because I still wanted him to stay. But all I would say is, if he did leave, it'd be really, really bad because all he'd be remembered for is an overpriced person who scored 2 goals against City in the second half.
Yeah,
and going back to Manchester United, that's not what you want your legacy to be.
If he was to go, because I know these are the angles people look at, but if he was to go, who would you be looking at realistically as a replacement? Milinkovic-Savic gets mentioned, but realistically, I mean,
if he was to go to Barcelona, if it was in January, or if he went to Barcelona, I'd take Rakitic for a season or two, and then maybe look for a younger person, like Milinkovic-Savic, wait for him to develop for another couple of seasons.
I think it's very interesting, George. Anyway, I'm going to try and whiz through, but thanks for calling in, mate. I really appreciate your comments.
Right, see you later.
Cheers, pal. I think it's really interesting with Pogba, and I don't want to ruin the video from lunchtime if people didn't see it, because that's all my opinions on there, and obviously they're very good opinions, and you might want to go and listen to them without blowing my own trumpet. But I do think this is an interesting situation, and I do hope that the quotes have been misconstrued, but they're everywhere. They're everywhere. Every news outlet is saying the same quote, and that is that I'm a Manchester United player now, but we'll see in a few months. That's really, 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 really ill-advised from Paul Pogba, from a man who absolutely models himself on his social media interactions, his haircuts. Do you really make a mistake like that, or is it a measured mistake? Because it really is saying, I'm not happy at United, and if it doesn't change, I want to go. That's basically the interpretation of that quote, if it's accurate. And is that fair on Manchester United, on Jose Mourinho, more importantly on Manchester United fans, when we've had a bad start to the season? He was given the captaincy against Leicester. Is that the talk of somebody who's a leader for Manchester United? Is that somebody who's ingrained in what Manchester United is trying to do? We've had a bad start to the season. Burnley gave us a positive. Some people think that positive is a fraud. It's a pantomime, and we're going to be in more trouble after the international break. Some of us are clinging on to that positive. But what we didn't need over the international break was more drama, more mayhem. And I think that's been delivered only 3 or 4 days after the Burnley game. And that is my concern. It's like, how and why is a player of that magnitude doing something like that. Hello. Anyway, next caller. Hello, can you hear me?
Hey, how's it going?
I'm
I just want to say I love the show, Mark. I think it's a great show.
Cheers, Alec. Very welcome. I think you're a first-time caller as well. So, what do you want to talk about?
I wanted to say, personally, I think, like, behind the scenes, I think the board maybe... First of all, the Pogba thing, I think it was completely outrageous to say that. But secondly, I think Martial and Pogba, maybe they were pulled aside by someone on the board or something like that, saying, because the contract extension, you could say, like, why it's unbelievable. Why would Martial stay? The differences between him and Mourinho.
Yeah,
so maybe the board said at the end of the season, he may not be here. We're gonna work out, see how the season's gonna turn out, and then you'll know. Then that maybe that's their way of trying to convince them. You should stay, and we really want you at the club. And because Martial, he symbolizes everything we're about. Like, he's a young player. We can't let what happened, like you said earlier, like Salah and the De Bruyne's, like in that case scenario. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To give them away.
I was just going to ask you
go
there,
ahead.
though. I mean, I think what you're saying could well be true within the club, but do you not? I mean, I don't know what you think about Mourinho, but do you not think that is massively undermining to the manager? Because if we have fans are thinking they're just Martial signing that contract because the board are saying, look, Mourinho might not be here in a year, but how does that make Mourinho feel? He's not been backed in the summer. A player that he wanted to get rid of, apparently signing a big new contract. It's a bit of a low blow, even if you're a Mourinho outer, and I don't know whether you are.
No, definitely. It's a like, I have a love-hate relationship with the guy. I wasn't too optimistic of him coming to the club in the first place, but just because I know, his style of play and everything, and of course we're a very attacking, free-flowing type of style of football. But at the end of the day, yeah, it is very undermining, and in a way they, like, it's obvious they didn't back him, and whether it's fatigue or, just not readiness for the league or whatever it may be. Certain players, we saw it in the Brighton game, like, people just, they weren't ready, and then they get thrown in the pit, and they suffer more or less. And because he's not backed, you see it, it's obvious. Like, we see it firsthand right there when the games are played, you know what I mean? And
I just think it's the last thing we needed, really, isn't it? As I was saying just before you came on the call, we have had a bad start. We sort of gained a bit of positivity from Burnley, and then 3 days into the international break, you've got our most iconic player basically saying, "I'm not happy, and I'll leave in a few months if it doesn't change." I mean, I just don't see why that needs to be said, to be honest.
Yeah, and for the players to not have left. Like, I know, and I agreed with you. No, there was no way I didn't see Pogba leaving, and we didn't have a time for a replacement during the transfer window. But same goes for Martial. If they can be strong and tough enough to want to stay and really, like, because I don't think it's about fighting for a place at this point anymore. Like, Martial has his own differences with Mourinho, but Pogba just needs to prove why he should be on the starting 11, because he's had a very shaky start to the season. I wouldn't I'd give him like a 5-6 myself. If I were to rate him, because he hasn't. You have to be more than what you are. You can't be average. You know what I mean? You have to be better than what you're supposed to be. If they say you're a world-class belter, you have to be that. You have to show that. And obviously that's another thing that comes down to the coach and telling the players, if they're capable of doing this, or if he's open to them trying new things and doing things different, which is why I'm a little happier the last two games. The Spurs result was tough, but we were still able to we fought for it. It wasn't I look after that first half, I was very, the first half was very, like, it was almost like life-changing. It was like to see life in the club again, like, made a big difference and made me happy. And then we saw it again, and now, maybe there's a big turnover in the second, not the second half of the season, but in the coming weeks after the international break.
I hope so. Anyway, Alec, thanks for calling in. Great first call, and please do call in again.
Yeah, I love the show. I always try to call in, Mark. I appreciate you taking it.
No worries, mate. And it's people like you who make it. So thanks for calling in, and I'll speak to you again soon.
All right. Have a good one. Thanks.
Cheers, pal. And I think the thing I would take from that call that I thought was absolutely fantastic, and I don't know whether anyone else has picked up on it, is that, you've got to be better than you are. We've all got our ceiling, but break through that ceiling and go to the next level. And it really made me think there, something I'd not thought about. What a great point by Alec, is that we know Paul Pogba's not playing to his potential at Manchester United. But, what about if he was? and he'd be going beyond his potential. He's still got development in him. He's still got ceilings to break through, and he's not even hitting the ceiling we think he can hit. If he was hitting that, he could go beyond that and beyond that. So maybe we're being a bit bloody generous, you know. Pogba doesn't play to the level he should do, and we know he doesn't. But if he was at that level, maybe he'd be going beyond that level and getting better and better. It's what a point that is. Really good point. Remember to drop a like on the video for our callers. It is the Skype show, so we're doing it twice a week through the international break, Monday and Thursday. So drop a like on the video for our callers. Really would appreciate that. I wouldn't mind getting a few people calling in about the wage bill. Do we pay too much? Do we get value for money? £300 million a year is the reported fee that we're going to be paying this year for wages, way above anybody else in the Premier League, and yet we've had no title challenge in 6 years. Are we chucking money at a problem and buying the wrong sort of players? I don't know, maybe you think that. And also maybe you want to talk about Pep Guardiola's phone ban. Would you like to see that at United? Would you like to see a stop of all these dressing room, training ground videos, or do you think that's actually just part of football now and it's all a bit of fun? Get your calls in, have your say, and get your comments in as well. And let's see if we can get another call here. Here we go. I don't know, we've clicked there. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can, mate.
Is that...
You're right.
Jack? Is it Jack, yeah?
Yeah.
How you doing, all right?
Yeah, I'm good. Are you?
Yeah, not too bad. I must admit, I mean, I'm presuming you're going to talk about Pogba first anyway. I'm just a little bit... I back Pogba, I like Pogba, but I can't get my head around why he said what he said, to be honest. Maybe you can have a theory on it.
Well, to be honest, I think he's a bit too involved in the social media. I think maybe he can't concentrate on his game enough. I don't know what you think about that, but that's just my opinion.
I've got to be honest. I don't know, and look. I don't know, and I don't know whether you know or anybody knows. I can't read Paul Pogba. I know he gives off a social persona with all the dabs and that, but we don't know whether he's intelligent. We don't know whether he's driven by his agent. We don't know whether he's a master manipulator. We don't know whether he's a really clever guy and he just wants out of United. We don't know, but you're right. We do know that he is very active in the social media scene, which makes it even more odd that you would come out and say something, because it's not really you can come out and say afterwards, yeah, I made a mistake. I mean, this is a guy who knows social media, like you say, very well. So to come out and say maybe in a few months I won't be happy, I just think it doesn't help us as Manchester United, does it? We're on a bit of a positive, and now we've got this concern again.
Yeah, it's not what you need. I don't think.
No, it isn't. I'll ask you about Martial. I mean, that one's a weird one. I really expected Martial to leave, because I thought, when the writing's on the wall, Mourinho's not going to play you may as well go. Are you surprised that he's going to sign a new long-term contract? And what do you think that means for Martial, Mourinho and United?
Well, to be honest, I actually think he's a top quality player. He's one of my favourite players, and he's up there with the top in the Premier League on his day. And for the money we paid for him, he's just not getting his chance.
Why do you think he's signing the contract then? Because if we go back to when Sanchez's start came, Martial had scored in the 3 previous Premier League games to that, 1-0 against Burnley. Then he gets dropped for Alexis Sanchez. His agent comes out in the summer and says he wants to leave. So why do you think he's signing a new contract? Do you think
Well, Sanchez, he's not the youngest, is he? I think Sanchez is more of a short-term player, whereas Martial, maybe he's signing the long-term deal because he's been promised as Sanchez gets older that he might be more involved as Sanchez slows down, because when he gets older he is gonna lose his pace, isn't he? So.
You know what? I just hope it's another Luke Shaw position. I never thought Luke Shaw was going to get back in the team under Mourinho. I always thought he'd play Ashley Young. So
Would it be able to ask you a quick question, please?
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you happy the schools are back? You fucking nuts.
You are. I tell you what, that call was. I really struggled with that call because he came across as a little bit thick and slow, and then it all got justified at the end, didn't it? Let's take another call. I don't think that will end up as a meme because he just came across really, started laughing too much before it as well. Right, let's try this one. Hello, can you hear me?
Hiya.
How you doing? All right?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. I think you're getting a bit too giddy about Martial, to be honest with you.
Go on then. Tell me why.
I think that you're saying that he was in this blistering form before Sanchez came, but he wasn't. He scored 2 goals in 2 games, but other than that, he weren't really doing much.
3 player of the month in 5.
Okay, and then then you said that when Sanchez came in, he dropped him for Sanchez, but he didn't. He played them in the same team.
He did. You're right. He did. He played him on the right midfield, didn't he, for about an hour, and then he dropped him.
Yeah. Okay, and then I wanted to talk about Pogba.
Yeah, go on then. What? I was just saying there.
Yeah.
We've been saying it all night. I just think the timing of it was just odd. What do you think it's all about?
Yeah. I think that if he leaves, he's a quitter because he can get the easy route by going to PSG or going to Juve or going to Barcelona. Why can't he do it here? He's just a bit of a quitter and a coward.
I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you on that. I just think he'll always have it on his CV that he's a quitter. Barcelona, play with Messi, win a few Champions Leagues, whatever, but you're still turning your back on a challenge, I think.
Yeah.
But
definitely.
What do you think? How do you want it to be resolved? Would you just get rid of him? I mean, what would you like to see happen? Because there's a lot of people today going, get rid of him, loser, get rid of him. I personally would like to. I just think you got a player like that. We know what he can be. I would try absolutely everything to try and see if we can get it to work. But what do you think?
I want him to stay, but if you don't want to stay, then go and get better. Go get Isco. Go and get Milinkovic-Savic.
What's your thoughts on Mourinho?
I am Mourinho in.
Good. Were you Mourinho in? Like, have you always been? Even though we lost those 2 games.
Always. I think if we win a game, all the Mourinho out people go hiding, and then when we lose, suddenly they all come back out.
I think it's going to be a very interesting after the international break because I don't know what you think, but I think you look at the fixtures, Watford, Wolves, they're going to be tough games, and I agree with you. I think that there will be people jumping on it very, very quickly. I've got to put my hands up. I got really annoyed after the Brighton game, and I got the Spurs game was just what annoyed me about the Spurs game was playing Jones. I never understand that, but.
Yeah, I'm never. I always hate when I see Jones on the team sheet. I don't think he should be anywhere near the club. And I think every time he sees that deadline day clock go down, it's party time.
Exactly. And I also think that, look, I can't hide. I got very, very frustrated. And I said, look, I can't see Mourinho turn this round because he is picking the wrong sort of players. But I have to say, I backed Mourinho right till the start of the season. I backed him all the way. I like Mourinho. But all I ever said is he's got to change. And then after them games against Brighton and Spurs, I thought he ain't going to change. But actually, in fairness, I take Spurs back. But Spurs and Burnley, the amount of chances we're creating, the movement from back to front, that's all we've ever wanted to see. And if he can do that and he goes down fighting like that, I'll back him. I don't care. As long as the football's good, that's the thing for me. So, look, I'm positive. I just hate what Pogba's done because it's sort of stuck a pin in the balloon, really.
Yeah, I mean, he has bursted out all the positivity. I think when you said against Burnley, when Fellaini was picked, you can't play quick football with Fellaini in the team. We sort of did, didn't we?
Oh, I'm totally, mate. I will say. I mean, Fellaini's apparently got an injury, as I said today. I think it's a back injury from all the pats on the back he got at the weekend because. Fellaini did a job against Burnley. He moved the ball quickly. He killed the high ball. It's odd, really, because when it comes to Fellaini, I think Fellaini's got to be in the opposition's box. That's where he causes problems. But he had a good game, and I don't mind saying I'm wrong when I get it wrong. And Mourinho really did get us playing exciting, quick football. I hope it works. I think Mourinho is very similar to Pogba. I don't know what you think. It's like, yes, you can change it, but I'm always like, well, I'd rather try and get the best of, really give the chance to what we've got before you go and change it, because a change isn't necessarily a good thing.
Yes, I mean, yeah, I think I do think Mourinho has changed it a bit. The attitude towards the fans. That's something I've always wanted to see, but I think Pogba's not going to change. I think he's acting like he wants an apology off someone.
What do you think? What do you think, Pogba? Just very quickly, what do you think Pogba's issue is? Because we all know we're not getting the best out of him on the pitch. That's surely down to him. So what do you think his issue actually is? Because it's not obvious to see.
Yeah, I think there's obviously. I think after the Tottenham game where he was hooked, I think since then they obviously had a bust up, or well, a rumour that, but I think they obviously some of that went wrong, and I think since then it's not really been fixed.
No. Well, Travis, I really enjoyed the call. Brilliant call, and please do call in again.
Thank you. Yeah, I will. Thanks. See you.
Cheers, mate. Thank you. Really good call, that. Let's have a look at the live comments. Well, Mr. Jun Fit for Work says, very good call. I enjoyed it. I liked the challenge at the start as well because, you know, this is what it's all about. It's all about your opinions. And I say challenge, but you know what I mean. Jose has it wrong by playing Young as left-back, says Michael Jones. But he's not doing it anymore. Matt Hodges says, Jose ruined Martial's rhythm by buying Alexi. Look, the one thing I would say is there that... How's about Martial on the right-hand side? Why? I would like to see Martial on the left, Sanchez on the right. But why can't we have Sanchez on the left, Martial on the right? He tried it for an hour against Spurs and never tried it again. I think we did it at Newcastle as well, and he missed a good chance. But I think if you're gonna get someone to play a different side of the pitch, it's like driving on the other side of the road. It takes a little bit of time to adjust. Give Martial 4 or 5 games on the right-hand side. And if, you know, this myth that he's lazy, whatever, comes to pass, then those people will be right. But I think our front three should always be Lukaku, Sanchez and Martial. I know Mourinho likes hard-working players, but at the end of the day, 3 flair players in the 3 attacking positions is surely what you want. There's another 8 to do all the rest. And as long as Sanchez and Martial track back, which they do, I don't really give a damn if they're a right winger who can play at right back. You want 3 flair players. You look at what City do, Liverpool with Mane, Salah and Firmino, Lukaku, Sanchez, Martial. They're our best 3 front players. They should be playing. Let them interchange. Lukaku doesn't mind wandering out to the right. Swap with Martial for 5 minutes. Sanchez can do it. Let them all interchange. That's the front 3, and I don't really care how it goes, left, forward, whatever. That should be our front 3. That's what I really want to see at United. Those 3 players playing together. Don't know what I've just done there. I hope we've still got it going. Right, let's take another call. I don't know whether I've clicked in there. I think they might have gone. Okay. Not got many people calling at the moment. Let's grab this one. Hello, can you hear me?
You alright, mate?
Is that Kev?
Yeah.
How you doing, pal?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. I just want to first off to apologise about that other caller that was disrespectful to you, and it's just stupid to see.
Oh, mate,
but anyway, enough about that.
We'll get more of that. You know, it's a challenge for some people to try and get on. You just got to ignore them, let them have their little clip on Twitter that will probably get 100 retweets. But, you know, we crack on.
Yes,
what do you want to talk about, mate? But thanks for that.
This Pogba thing, you know, I really strongly disagree with people that calls him one of the best midfielders in the world at the moment. Because for me, in the past 2 years, he has not shown that for Manchester United. For me, if a player really has the title of one of the best players in their position, they have to do it for their club, not only their country. You could say the same for Giroud. He won the World Cup. You don't call him the best striker in the world. But I don't want Pogba at Manchester United anymore. The start of last year, I was like, you know what? His first season back, yeah, whatever. We'll see what he does in the second season. Halfway through, I was like, no, I don't want him at the club. He doesn't show energy. And his stupid little antics on social media is annoying me as well. It's like I don't want him at the club because what's he doing for Manchester United? What's he done? That's amazing. Apart from have a couple of good games and then go back to being a bang average player.
You know what? You speak for a lot of people, and actually I would say probably over 80% of what I've seen, certainly on Twitter today, would echo what you've just said there. So I can't disagree with it. But personally, I know what Pogba can be, and maybe I'm clinging on like I was with Mourinho. I know what he can be, and Pogba for me is one of the few midfielders in the world who, when he runs at someone and gets past them, he can skip past them and then there's space. He doesn't do it though. I can't argue about that. He doesn't do it. He doesn't fulfill his talent, and maybe he never will. But I just think we should try absolutely everything. So at the end of the day, if he forces his way out of this club, instead of going with a handshake and a pat on the back like, maybe Ronaldo did, he goes with a kick up the backside and never come back because we've tried everything. And I don't know at the moment whether we've reached that stage, because I like Pogba and I think he could be a really, top talent. But
I like Pogba as well. Don't get me wrong, he's a fantastic player. But like I said, if he's not going to do it for Manchester United, what's the point in being here? We can't just keep saying that he has potential to be this, he has potential to be that. If he's not going to consistently show him in his third year here at Manchester United, then what's the point in keeping him? I could probably think of bang average midfielders that would do a better job than him that he has in his last 4 games for Manchester United. Pereira, if he played in that role Pogba played against Brighton, certainly, I'm telling you now, he'd be the best player on the pitch by far. That performance against Brighton was disgusting by Pogba. For people to call him one of the best midfielders in the world, and he's doing performances like that, is disgusting to see. And it's not on for me. I can't be seeing that for a Manchester United side, because we should be aiming for the highest of the high, because we are a big, fantastic club. And if people like Pogba are just going to, just whatever, don't care, just do what they want, what's the point of having them?
Definitely. I want to ask you about Martial as well. What's your reading of the Martial situation? We've included in the title, Mourinho's facing a Pogba and Martial rebellion. I think the Pogba rebellion is obvious and very public and very humiliating for Mourinho, who's trying to build something, and his player goes on international duty and basically undermines him again, which he's done twice now in a few weeks. But Martial's is more a subtle rebellion, really, and it's not really Martial's fault. It's more that we've heard that Mourinho would have sold him in the summer. I felt that I love Martial, he's my favourite player, but I did agree that he probably needs to go. Mourinho's not going to use him. So why is he signing a new 5-year contract, and what does that mean for the Mourinho-Martial relationship, do you think?
Well, first of all, I think the way Martial went about wanting to leave the club was respectful to Mourinho, and he did what he had to do because obviously he wasn't happy. But it's weird that I think Martial's going to sign a new contract, because I was certain that he was going to leave this summer, certain. But then he puts him on the bench, Mourinho, but then doesn't use him, and then says in interviews that he wanted to use him. I think that, to be honest, I think that's a lie. He's just saying that to say stuff to the press that's not true. But the relationship between them, it's obviously not good, as we know. But if him apparently going to sign a new contract could probably mean many things to Mourinho, like up yours, I'm a fan favourite here. Whatever you try and do, I'm not going to leave the club. I'm going to fight when you're gone. I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to prove you I'm one of the best wingers in the world in a couple of years. I'm going to, you know what I mean?
I just think for United, and personally as well, because I'm a big fan of Martial, although I would never, ever be in Martial FC. I just like Martial. It's just great. I think it's great that we're keeping him, because I really thought we were going to lose him.
Yeah.
And I think that you're right. I think, if he does have that up yours mentality, it might be something that endears him to Mourinho, and he might start using him. So I just think that maybe it's going to be, it will be a positive, hopefully. But we'll have to see. We'll have to wait and see. Anyway, Kev, really good call, and thanks for calling in.
Is it all right if I say something quickly?
Yeah, go on.
Sorry. For me, I think why Pereira's been pushed out of the squad a bit, I think it's because Mourinho probably saw that it's Pereira's first time with the Brazilian squad, so he wants to take it easy with him and let him have his experience for Brazil. And then when he comes back, it's going to start putting him in the team with Fred, and then hopefully he gets a lot more first team football than what he's getting at the minute.
Good theory. I hope you're right on that, because I really, really want to see Pereira involved in the first team setup this season. He's ready.
All right, Mark. Thank you for the time. Thank you for taking my call.
No worries. Really good call, mate. And thanks for calling in.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too, pal. Really good call again. Thanks everybody who has been calling in. Please, as I always say, I thought, at the end there when he says I've got something I want to say, I thought, my finger was on the kill the phone button. I didn't think Kev was going to do that, but you just never know, do you? We've had one of them nights again. Thanks everyone who has called in though so far, and please do drop a like. We've got over 1,000 people watching. We've got nearly 2,000 people watching. We've only had 250 likes, so please do drop a like, because these are people calling in, like people who are watching in the live comments, or maybe you're not watching it live. They're just normal fans calling in. And when we started doing the Skype show, people used to phone in and be really nervous and hesitant, and over the weeks that we've been doing it, people realise that they will get their chance to talk. They will not be called up. They will be respected. And people just come on now like it's like they've done it 20 times before, and they really do get their points across really well. So drop them a like for the community, because that's what it's all about. Milner's better than Pogba, says Yasser H with a smiley face. Mate, you didn't need the smiley face. It's true. Milner is better than Pogba in the Premier League. You could name a lot of midfielders that are better than Paul Pogba. The Brighton midfield's better than Pogba. It's there on paper. I mean, factually, as a talent, they're not, but your talent's only as good as how many times you actually use it. And Pogba's basically, Pogba's Superman, isn't he? But instead of putting his Superman outfit, he's walking around like Clark Kent, and he's left Superman outfit at home. It's not underneath his shirt, and he's not underneath his shirt and trousers, is it? He's not popping into the old bloody phone box. He's just wandering around like Clark Kent in a pair of glasses. He's a nerd. He's not really Paul Pogba when he's playing a Manchester United shirt. Goes off to Spain. He doesn't even bother with the Clark Kent outfit. He's there. He's in the dressing room. I'm Superman. Listen to me. This is how you do it. This is how you do it. Gets back to United. Chucks the Superman kit in the bin. Puts Clark Kent and glasses on. Wanders off to training. I am Superman, but it's hidden behind this exterior of nerdiness that I'm not going to show everybody what I can do. And I don't get it. Is Paul Pogba lacking confidence under Mourinho? Is Paul Pogba being petulant under Mourinho? I don't know, but all I do know is that I want Superman Pogba at Manchester United. That's what I want to see. That's what we all want to see. And I know a lot of people are giving up on him and having a go at him on social media. But as I say again, I firmly believe that Paul Pogba can be one of the best midfielders in the world. He's not at the moment. James Milner is better than him, but he can be one of the best in the world. And I would be, if I was at Manchester United, even if it was Mourinho and you'd fallen out with him, I would still be sat there in my moments of calmness. Question time's on, you're dropping off to sleep, boring. You just think, Paul Pogba's a Manchester United player. He's a Manchester United player. He's my player. I'm not getting the best out of him. I don't like him. His taste in music is crap. His shoes are rubbish. I don't like him as his personality is there. But as a footballer, I could have one of the best players here. How do I get the best out of him? And that's what I would urge Manchester United to do. Before this journey goes south with Pogba, because it's clearly going that way, do absolutely everything you can to make it work. And if at the end of the day, Pogba's like, I don't care what you do, I hate Manchester, I'm faking it, I want to go and play in Barcelona, you go, right, okay, there's nothing we can do with this guy, get out, and I want 150 million from Barcelona. But I would pursue it as far as I could, and that's why I would urge people. I know people are annoyed with Pogba, but he might come out with something really positive next week in the media. Just to have hold a little bit back. That's what I would say, because I want I want him to stay, and I want him to be the big player that I know he can be. Shania, stupid comment deleted by Snaps. Yeah, it's not racist to say that you don't like someone's music, and it was an analogy anyway, but that is a ridiculous comment. It's like saying, I'm not even going to cover it. Martial has played his highest number of games under Mourinho, says N'Gola Hans. And Ed was lucky to get on once. Mark, what do you think will happen against Juventus, says Ladios? I've seen that question a few times. Well, let's keep that back for a little bit later on in relation to that. But anyway, I'm going to call it a day there, because I want to go and watch Made in Chelsea, which I recorded from Monday night. Can't beat a bit of Jamie Lang, the king. But anyway, thanks everyone for watching. Please do drop a like on the video for everyone who's called in. And really good calls tonight, apart from the dickhead. But thanks everyone, and I shall speak to you all tomorrow. Have a good evening. And if you are watching the Nations League, where have you been? Why are you watching it back, not live? This is better than Wales versus Ireland. You know, Nations Cup. As I tweeted out earlier, what is the Nations Cup? Now, I used to play the Nations Cup on Pro Evo because they didn't have the licence for the World Cup. It's a crap name, it's a crap tournament, and no one even knows what it's about. United where it's at, unless it's the World Cup or the Euros. Thanks for watching. Speak to you all soon. And also, if you didn't watch my video on Pogba at lunchtime, I've not really given my full view on the Pogba situation. If you didn't watch it at lunchtime because you were at work or wherever, you can go and give it a watch. It's called Pogba Hints at Manchester United Exit, and I give my opinion. Tonight it's been all about you lot. Thanks for watching.